Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. It is the 15th of November, 2021. I hope you're well, ready for the beginning of this new week. Yesterday we had great services in our church. We had a service at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and at 6 p.m. We added another pastor to our pastoral team. The community here that we're leading in the city of São José dos Campos is growing. And it was a wonderful, wonderful day. A long day, but a wonderful day. So I hope you're well wherever you are at this particular moment. We are walking in the words of John's gospel. We're seeing up close and personal how that Jesus discipled his first disciples. If you've been walking along in these studies, I think it's becoming very, very clear that there is no such thing as discipleship apart from Jesus. We can have our Bibles in our hands, we can have a seminary building around us, we can be in a church building, but you cannot remove the presence of Jesus from the discipleship process. It is Christ in us, the hope of glory. I hope you're feeling this drawing that comes when we focus on Jesus. It's so nice to see some of you coming on live. I know that most of you will watch this recording later on, but for those of you who get up very early, and especially in the United States, and are watching this video, thanks for the effort. It's more fun for me, especially. It's more meaningful for me to know there's real live people watching as we talk, even though I know the videos go on and continue to speak a little bit of what Jesus really is in our lives. We stopped with these words in John chapter 14 last Friday. I will not leave you orphans, I will come to you. I will not leave you orphans, I will come to you. Now I want to read on a little bit further in this passage. We'll finish up John 14 for sure this week. And I want to ask you to do this as we do this together. I want you to imagine that you are physically present as these words were being spoken for the very first time, the last time they would be spoken by Jesus to his disciples. I want you to imagine that you're there with Jesus, you're in the room, and you are hearing him talk. And he's been talking and doing things that have been kind of strange and different ever since he began to wash the disciples' feet in chapter 13. He's talked repeatedly about the fact that there's something getting ready to happen that's going to be terrible, that he's going to be killed. You can imagine the emotional state of these disciples. I'd like for you to think of it as though you're there and you're listening, and there's so many things you're questioning and so many things you don't understand, and come to the passage in this way. I find that very helpful for me to immerse myself in the passage and ask myself, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel? What is happening here to these disciples and their relationship with Jesus? So he says, I will not leave you orphans, I will come to you. I'm sure they didn't understand that. They would understand it later on. He says this in verse 19, a little while longer, and the world will see me no more, but you will see me. Because I live, you will live also. At that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who has my commandments and keeps them. This is really important. Listen, let this impact you. He who has my commandments and keeps them is he who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him. Judas, not Iscariot, said to him, Lord, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Jesus answered and said, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. He who does not love me does not keep my words. And the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. These things I have spoken to you while being present with you, but the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things, and bring to your remembrance all things that I said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. If you're in this context, if you've done what I hope you've done, and you have seen yourself sitting there listening to this, and you know that this storm is coming, and you know that this thing is coming to a crescendo, and you are about to be taken into the worst moment of your life. And I'm sure the disciples didn't even understand how bad it was going to get, but Jesus understood. And he knew that the one thing that was going to be at risk was their peace. They were going to lose their peace. They were going to lose the calmness of their heart. Jesus knew that they were going to be feeling as though their whole world collapsed. And so he makes the subject the Trinity. He said, my Father will come and live in you, and the Holy Spirit will come and be in you, and I will be in you. And if you keep my commandments, you will enter into what we are doing. This is discipleship. Discipleship is a union between disciples as sheep and the shepherd Jesus, the will of the Father and the presence of the Spirit, and we are directly involved in the drama of redemption that is happening in the world, that the world does not understand and the world does not see. There's something about being a disciple that when we really become one with the Father's will that is revealed in Jesus through his words, and we begin to obey his words, we are voluntarily drawn into doing what he says because we recognize that he has all authority. And so we begin to enter into the flow of this perfect love, and we begin to participate. And as we participate, we find this miracle happening, which is our heart grows calm. The world doesn't change. We are at peace, but the world is not. So this is what Jesus means when you will see me. You will see me and I'll calm you down, and you will see me and I'll give you peace. The world won't give you peace because the world won't see me unless they see you living me. And that's the way discipleship is supposed to work. We are to see ourselves as a flock and Jesus as the shepherd. And when you're in a flock and Jesus is the shepherd, what goes on in the world is not your problem. It is not a flock, it's not a garrison of soldiers that are ready to go out and do battle with the world. No, it's a flock of sheep that are going to give their lives for the purposes of God. We live in a time that is just as crazy as the time was when Jesus was among his first disciples. And there are people living realities in this world right now that are your brothers and sisters and my brothers and sisters, that they will be martyred today. You can mark that down. There will be people today that will be martyred because they are a part of Jesus' flock. There will be people today that will go to prison because they're Christians. There will be people today that will lose their jobs because they're Christians. There will be people today that will be falsely accused because they're Christians. So what does Jesus say when days like that are coming? He says, come to me. Listen to me. Obey my commands. Ignore everything else. See me, hear me, love me, live me. That is the experience of every disciple on this planet today, or it's not. And this is my responsibility. He's throwing this on me in the sense that he's saying, Bud, I'm here. I didn't leave you an orphan. I'm here. I'm dwelling in you. My Father dwells in you. The Holy Spirit is helping you remember what I've said. Now, Bud, you can live today panicked because of what's going on in the world, or you can be at peace with me. It's so hard to ignore the world. It's so hard to not be afraid of the crazy world in which we live. But as a disciple, we really have to choose his peace, don't we? I think if you felt what I felt as I was reading these words, I felt his peace. I felt his peace reach across 2,000 years. I felt his peace telling me, don't be afraid. Yes, Lord, but the world has gone crazy. It's always been crazy since we walked out of Eden. But Jesus has never been crazy. And the Father has never been panicked. And the Holy Spirit is still ready to walk with us in the middle of this the way it is right now. To be a disciple is to be at peace. To be a disciple is to obey the commands of Jesus. And all of his commands are about how we love God and how we love ourselves and how we love others. That's the only subject we should be worried about. Loving God, knowing that we are loved by God, and loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. That should be the only thing we're worried about doing. In any context in which we live, that's our primary responsibility, to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. That is what God expects of us. That is why God is within us. That is why we live, and that is what it is to be a disciple, to see Jesus, to hear Jesus, to love Jesus, in order to live Jesus. And we as the church, we as the flock, we as the people of God should not be afraid. We should be at peace. And the only thing that will allow us to go to peace is to go to Jesus and believe what he said right here in this passage. That was what the first disciples had to do when he was crucified. And then they did see him again, and they did hear him again, and they did begin to change the world. And we are the people who are now in our time, in our place, and we should be seeing him, hearing him, loving him, and living him. So that's what I intend to do today, and I pray that you intend the same thing. And remember this, there's no other way for us to be at peace. He is the Prince of Peace. There's no other way for us to really love except letting God love us first, and remembering this, that those that are loved by God are sent to love. And the only way you're going to love correctly is by doing it the way Jesus commanded it to be done. Everything Jesus said, every command of his was about teaching us how to love in a fallen world, not in a perfect world, in a fallen world. I hope you think on these things. It's really a joy to come in the morning and just talk. It's not a sermon, it's just a talk among believers, and I hope that you will find something in these words. Go back and read them again that would give you comfort and peace in a crazy world. God bless you. Have a great day.